through sexual intercourse with Satan, fallen angels, and Nephilim. So these women that we've worked with can tell you that the most horrific experience in their life is to have sexual intercourse with Satan. And it's only the high up royal blue bloods that have the sex with Satan because it's his seed. And so the child that gets born from that unity is then her first Nephilim son, her firstborn Nephilim son that gets born. And then she's only pregnant for 4 months. It's not 9 months, it's 4 months.
Right.
And then she looks like she's at school. She looks like she's just putting on a bit of weight. She's just becoming chubby. And within 4 months, she's normal again. Got her weight back. And this Nephilim gets taken to the Nephilim creche and gets raised. They grow very quickly. And by the time she gives birth to him at 13, age 13, and when she's 26 years old, she marries him. So in Babylon, you had Queen Semiramis, who was married to Nimrod. Then she has a son called Tammuz. And she then has sex with Tammuz. So the whole Babylonian Trinity pattern is followed throughout today. You still see it happening in families.
The interbreeding, yeah.
Yeah, where the mother marries the son. And then we'll give, the whole marriage thing. So she marries the Nephilim son at 26. He's a full-grown man. He is a beautiful guy. She has sex with him like every day. She's totally addicted to him.
Really? Do you see that now? Any examples of that? Because do we see that going on?
Those are the people we work with. So the Nephilim mothers that we work with, this is the kind of story that they tell you.
Okay.
That this is what they've been through. And it's in different countries, the same story.
And they're producing more children? Are they producing more children with their sons?
They are. They do produce children. So they would sometimes sacrifice those children if it's a high thing that they need more power. They will sacrifice their own offspring. They will also have human children that they can raise in their families. Some of them can have the human children. But then they would also have children in the cult. And they blackmail them with those children to say, if you must do this and this and this, otherwise we kill your child. And they bonded. They are trauma bonded with a child. So they have lots of children. A woman has 2,000 eggs. So she can give lots of babies.
God, I have so many questions on this. It's a human female. She is impregnated by a fallen angel who comes in the physical form. This is usually at a very high level, like royal level, something like that.
Yes.
Then at 20, when this child reaches the age of 13, I think you said, is that right?
Yeah, she gives birth. Yeah.
Oh, she gives birth at 13.
She gives birth at 13. She gives
years
birth
old. At 13 years old.
Yeah, 13 years old.
And then when she's 26, she has sex with.
She actually marries this Nephilim son.
Well, that's actually the story in the Quran, isn't it? I think there was a marriage at 13 with Muhammad. But okay, maybe that also connects into the 27 Club. I don't want to go there, but I've also heard stories about how at 26 they have to perform certain rituals to keep things going. And if they don't, then if they kind of reject that, then there's a consequence for that. That might also connect into that as well.
27, they get taken out. It can be 17 or 27.
Yeah, and if they don't play ball, then they can be killed, right? Because some of these musicians, they're probably part of a bloodline.
That's right. Oh yes, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. And then what you mentioned about the. So they do rituals where they would give up some of their human-born babies on like altars in a ceremonial kind of space. Like, what is actually happening there? Like, are they communicating with fallen angels or the demonic realm? And then what's actually given in that exchange? And how does it help them in their life? How are they given powers?
Well, blood. Life is in the blood.
Right.
And so if they are prepared to give their own child, like they are copycat everything. So God the Father was prepared to give his only son.
Mm.
And so they say, are you prepared to give your children?
Mm.
How much are you prepared to give? And so they play on that.
Right, okay. And then what's that exchange? How are they given power then? Like, what's that demonic role? Is it the demon realm or the fallen angels or what that are giving power to them?
There's just, if they are given a command that they have to sacrifice their child, their child will die.
Yeah.
Then they don't have a choice. There is no choice. And they have wept. They have wept tears when we work through these memories with them. And they just say, but what is my child going to think, And just to realize, but mommy had no choice. Mommy didn't have a choice. And in tears and heartbroken, she sacrificed that child and just trusted that the child, would go to God. And she would see the child one day. So when we deal with that, we silence the blood and we release her from that altar and everything that she did.
But is she given a power, though? Is she actually given some kind of power? Because I've heard stories.
Yeah, there's an exchange.
There's an Faustian exchange where they're kind of propelled up through society. Yeah. They're given status. How does that work?
Yeah. Let's take, for example, a survivor is trained to be an energy generator at a ritual. So they have to supply energy for at rituals. So this is their calling, and it's normally quite a higher, because an energy generator is a very important role. It's a human being, but they are supplied and trained with spiritual containers all the time, which they have to keep filling. They've got to fill these containers with energy. And the energy that they use is blood, so it's the sacrifices, and it's sex. So they would then, to be able to do a ritual. Let's say you've got this. I'm just going to take this little bag. You've got this person that is now the energy generator over a ritual, over an altar.
Can I take off the share screen so I can see you and everyone?
Sure. Yeah. Okay. So what we have is you've got a ritual happening. Okay, you've got the altar, and so babies have to die. They have to call up spirits globally. They would do global rituals where they have to, at the same time, and they use Greenwich Mean Time as their standard. So people all over the world is not running at the. I mean, we're not running at the same time. But what they do is they use time machines forwards and backwards, and they get them globally all to be on the same time. Okay, so they, at the same time, they will all do the ritual. They will all chant whatever they chant. The New Agers are good at this. They sing songs and try and bring peace and all of that. But the cult also, because it's in the unity, is the power. And so to have all of this happen all over the world where the ritual is taking place at the same time, you would have then, let's say this is now then, in England, and this is where they're doing this ritual, and then you've got this person who's the generator. So the generator is overseen, and you've got this person that's trained, is a royal, is powered up, has gone for years and years of pain and torture and everything, sex, and really powered up strong, and got lots of containers. Now she has underneath her other people that work for her, worker bees that work for her, and they do tantric sex, and so they build up such energy with tantric sex, because you're not allowed to climax, because if you climax, you're out, you lose it. Yeah. So you've got the tension causes all the energy, and they keep on filling the container the whole time, filling the container with energy so that the ritual will work. And then this one who's at the top, the main one that is now the blue blood, trained up, she looks down on the ritual and sees okay, things are not going well. That one's weakening. That one's getting tired. This one is not able to, say what they need to do. So what she then does is she watches what's going on and then sends energy down to them and powers them up with energy bolts and gets them so that they're all running and they are going and they're strong and they can release whatever they have to do and release and, whatever they have to proclaim over the world can happen. And so this energy generator is a very important part of the ritual. And so this has to take place and the containers are all there. And so that is how she's been powered up since before her conception. There was already a scroll that was written by Satan. This is what you will be. This is your role in the cult. And so she plays a very important role, because if you take away the energy source, the ritual can't happen. And that's why the guys in prayer should understand this, so that they know how to pray. Remove the energy source so that the rituals can't work.
How would you? Yeah, they're like energetic queen bees, aren't they? In that whole ritual,
yeah.
They're the ones. So how would you remove that? How do you? Well, we dissipate them. We use our prayer to dissipate the rituals.
Yeah. Yes, you can.
Yeah,
you can. You ask God, of course, with his angels, and while you're praying, that these things would, they would weaken, but they cannot weaken unless you remove the power. I mean, the one the generator giving them the power is the one holding it all together.
So you have that generator, that female at the top that provides more power to the, and then there's people in tantric practice in the level below, men and women, or just women again.
Men and women. Yeah.
So it's a container of that energy, and then how does it involve the child being killed at that point?
Well, it depends on what they are doing at the altar, because if it's a global thing that they want to shift things, like, for example, start wars in different countries.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, then they have to send a lot of negative energy, and they've got to start building up the anger, and they have instigators. So in other words, in the different countries, they have different assignments. So the wars that have happened in this world have not been from God. It's just been man that has been very, very greedy.
Okay, so they've generated their own. They've generated it in the energetic world, and that's what's created it in the physical world, geophysically. Geographically.
Yes.
I see. Okay, so they're almost they're like generators of that energy. Yeah, it has to be quite vast for them to create a war.
Yeah, especially if you're working with the kings of the earth, fallen angels, and then these blue bloods. It's not Mickey Mouse. It's shifting money across nations. It's causing wars. It's the fact that they could shut down the world 4 years ago. There's a lot of
taken a lot of energy rituals to be done for that.
I tell you, a lot, John. It was a build up. It wasn't just a thought. Okay, let's do it. It was a build up. It was planned. How long ago?
But it's woken a lot of people up, though. I think on some spiritual level, it's actually benefiting consciousness, because I've woken up a lot more from it. 9/11, a lot of people woke up from that.
Yes.
And I think as they do this, as they perform these heinous global acts of terror, it actually has a sharpening effect on the mind and the awareness of people. Those that are ready to receive, let's just say that, because not everyone is there yet. So I actually think maybe on some cosmic level, is this not still in God's plan?
God is still ultimately always on the throne, and he turns things around. Where they thought they had us in their pockets, and we would bow down and worship them, and we didn't.
No.
And it's actually woken people up, so it's had the opposite effect.
I think they've messed up. I think they've overplayed their hand.
All right, so the women are chosen by Satan and then powered up and conditioned throughout their lives, and then through sexual intercourse with Satan, fallen angels, and nephilim. They will receive secret knowledge and power, which they will then transfer to the kings of the earth. So these women have been governmental slaves. and they've written books. There's a book called Thank You for the Memories by a lady called Bryce Taylor. And you can download her book, you can get it from her, and it describes how she was a governmental slave, a little girl that had to power up these governmental leaders, and how she was used. It's quite shocking, but it's kind of like tongue in the cheek saying, well, thank you for the memories, you know. So she's in her 70s already. Done amazing work by writing the book or telling her story. Another lady that is very good is Wendy Hoffman. I don't know if anyone has heard about Wendy Hoffman, and she has written a couple of books as well, very, very well described, and her therapist has also written books. So what I'll do is I can send you a list of these people, and then you can just post it up.
Yeah, we'll do. I'll flash it all up in the edit. So
okay.
Don't worry. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. So they receive this secret knowledge. It's all about the secret stuff that's got to be downloaded to the kings of the earth, so that they can run the world. Looks like the kings of the earth are running the world, but it's actually the fallen angels. And the Nephilim that's doing it. For example, see the reports where Hitler and the Nazi scientists received their very advanced knowledge from. Now, History Channel did a very good job, and they did the whole thing about the scientists that were removed from Germany and taken to the United States, and how Vernon von Braun, who was the head of NASA, actually they did an interview and asked him, where did you get your power? Where did you get your knowledge to make the U-2 rockets? And he said, from them, referring to the fallen angels. So Hitler had specifically gone to get information, and that because he wanted to win the world. You know, he wanted to be king of the world. So he got his information from them. We've prayed at those places in Germany. We went to the actual place where they designed the rockets, and how many of those people were blown up because there was mistake. There was a faulty downloads of the formulas, and then the people blow up, and then but it's part of the game because they need the blood. They need the sacrifice.
Yeah, it's also called Operation Paperclip, isn't it? When they came over to...
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And... Yeah, they started off with medical experimentation as well. Joseph Mengele and
yes, that's very sad.
And I've heard theories that actually the Nazis won the war and it just went underground.
Yeah, that's right. You know? Yeah, they didn't die. They didn't die. There's too much. These photographs. The survivors are talking. The older ones are talking how they knew Mengele. He put them into cages, you know, so they couldn't tell stories about him.
Yeah.
All right, then you get presidential or governmental sex slaves, and that's through ritual sex today. Women are used to transfer demonic power and information from Satan himself to top world leaders, the kings of the earth. So again, the same way that they did it years ago with the women that have sex with the fallen angels, receive the information and then have sex with the men and transfer it to them. Large amounts of money is exchanged when the handler father allows his conditioned sex slave to transfer the power and information to world leaders in the religious, political, economic sphere of influence. So that's how they could control every walk of life. That's how they have worked for all these years, down the generations. All right, so understanding the bloodlines, we start with Adam and Eve, and then the fall of man. Then we have Babylon, and we have Semiramis and Nimrod. They were king and queen of Babylon. Then we have Charlemagne. So I'm just sort of splitting it, you know, so that you can follow the timeline. And then from Charlemagne, you have the Merovingian bloodline in the 12th century, and then the Druids that stood up and took over there. And then you have the 13 top bloodlines plus Satan. So the nations, so all the nations were now under the control of the fallen ones. And they were all bought in on this whole thing. Whether it was in the East or whether it was wherever in the world, you were part of this. I was surprised. We went to Hawaii and met with a Japanese royal. And I thought, you know, I've worked only with the European royals. And and by surprise, African ones too. And this lady was from Japan, from that bloodline. And she knew Mengele. She knew everything. So it was a whole global network that was happening. And how many people knew? It was so secret. Nobody knew about it. Only the inner circle people that knew. And then in 1948 was a huge, huge thing that happened. And that was when the Israel was born. The nation came back again. And then we have, from there, mind control, Nephilim as it is today, was established.
Can I just pause there? Because the Israel, is that not another Trojan horse? Because it was it not the Balfour Declaration? Yes. Is it Jacob Rothschild? One of the Rothschilds, anyway.
A lot was.
They're using the window dressing of Jews, and then they're actually Satanists hiding behind, and they're using the state of Israel as their new base, and they're trying to expand that outwards, aren't they? And so that's what people need to understand. When the state of Israel is not the same as ancient Israel, and I think the state of Israel is Satanists hiding, wolves in sheep's clothing, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So there is a remnant that are genuine, and they're really standing, for the land and for God's purposes. Yeah. But as you say, there is a lot of other stuff happening there as well.
Walter Rothschild was the one.
Yeah, the Rothschilds. So you've got Druidism, mind control, New World Order, practiced today. So this is interesting. This is now, we want to see how did it play out in our lifetime. So the whole Romanov, which is the the Russian Jew, the shield of Romanov, Holstein, Gottrop, and a dynasty. So that is what the shield looks like. And we always tell people, go and look at the shield, your family crest, and you'll see a lot of stuff and covenants that have been made. The House of Oldenburg. So they were reigning in Russia from 1613 to 1917. And we know that the House of Oldenburg is one of the most influential royal houses with branches in Denmark, Iceland, Greece, Norway, Russia, Sweden, and Oldenburg, all the German line. And there was also another earlier. Now, Anastasia was the young girl that was the only living survivor. They wiped out all the Romanovs, but it was just this one girl that survived. She was 16. Also, this is secret because according to history and anything you research, everybody died. The whole family was wiped out. But according to the cult history and what the survivors are reporting, was there was Anastasia who was the mother of them all. And she was 16, and she was the start, and she was sacrificed. They were torturing her and killing her when she had babies in her womb. And they had impregnated those babies, and so those babies were the carriers that then came forth. So everyone talks of an Anastasia. So there's always this Anastasia link of this young girl who was like the mother. But the older one was same Anastasia bloodline, 1560 to 1530. Married Ivan the Fourth, the Terrible, and her father was known as the progenitor of the Romanov dynasty. So again, we just see this bloodline coming through. Now, what I want you to see is the German-English-Russian alliance. And this is where we have the three cousins. So if you're talking about them all coming back into a one new world order, we're going to see this playing out very strongly. So you've got Germany, and you've got England, and then you have Russia. And these three were cousins, and they all belonged to Queen Victoria. So you have Victoria, who's all over the world. You have Lake Victoria, you have Victoria. I mean, our country is full of Victorias, and, you know, it's just how she has positioned herself all over the place. And we are getting a lot of the survivors have got a Victoria, very strong core part Victoria, that's lining up with Queen Victoria. So they are all playing in this coming together with the three cousins. This is a picture that a survivor drew. Sorry for the graphics. I'm going to go quick. But Queen Victoria's at the top. You can see the fleur-de-lis, and then you've got the woman at the bottom, and how they then get impregnated to control the world. So this was drawn by a survivor, a blue blood. All right, so you've got the splice connection. This is interesting. We've got this King George VI. The bloodline is connected to Nimrod. So this is where Nimrod is coming to our day. And his timeline is 14 December 1895 to 6th February 1952. And then because he's joined to Nimrod, who was the first Antichrist, we can just see how this Antichrist line is being played out through time. So this is a crucial bloodline connection in the cult, is this King George VI. And so you've also got to prove that if you're a blue blood, that this was part of your line. And then we have these Nephilim mothers. When conceiving, women would bring forth Nephilim. It was important to have both bloodlines represented. So Nimrod and King George VI had to be represented here, so that you could say that you're blue blood. And then a fallen angel or hybrid sodomized Hitler. This was also reported by quite a few survivors, the blue bloods, that a fallen angel or the hybrid would come and sodomize Hitler from behind, and then Hitler, in the meantime, at the same time, was sodomizing King George the Sixth. So this is the power. You can just imagine how the power transfer takes place. And then when his seed was released, this was actually a new form of seed, because these fallen angels were now in line with this wanting to bring forth the Antichrist, and they had to then prepare the women that were going to bring forth these Nephilim that would be born on the earth. And so it was so spiritually charged that it was a new seed that was formed through the seed of King George VI. So this is the connection to the last human king, and to bring forth a form of the Antichrist. So the last human king was King George VI. And that's what we then see. It's very important to be connected to Nimrod. And Hitler is a type of an Antichrist king, and Babylon is the harlot of all the mothers, and Nimrod is the resurrected Messiah. So Nimrod will be featuring in the last days again. He is going to come forward again. We will be seeing him coming forward. So we got to watch out for this, because as in the days of Noah, it's going to be so in our day as well.
But as a giant, or as in a human form, would you say? Appearing in the human form?
I don't know, John. I don't know how he's going to manifest himself. All I know is that there will be, Revelation tells us that there will be witnesses that will appear in Jerusalem. And Satan's a copycat. So he's going to bring forth how and who and what. We're going to have to wait and see, But the survivors are talking about this. But they don't have all the knowledge either. Although they have secrets, they had to just pass it on, and the kings of the earth took the secrets, and they continued with whatever the plan was.
So we've had the the kind of Nephilim royalty ever since George VI. Is that right?
Say that again, John. Sorry.
We've had Nephilim royalty ever since George VI. That's
yes.
What, like the Saxe-Coburgs, maybe, is what we renamed, rebranded to the Windsors, are actually
absolutely.
Nephilim.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So Nimrod was a mighty hunter, and the kings of this world all have one mind. They are connected. There's a network between them that they don't need words. There's a language that happens psychically.
Yeah.
And so Hitler's splicing of DNA, because he was the whole eugenics, did the project of eugenics. And Hitler's splicing of DNA fits into the conception event that took place in 1944. So he had this big project, and his own DNA was then used and spliced in so that he would be carried forth. His DNA would be carried forth. So him and George the Sixth were very, very connected. So there's a lot of relations that are not spoken about publicly, but behind the scenes there are definitely connections. I can send you quite a few articles that I've got they've done research on this. And that represents this connection with Satan. So the Hitler splice is the most hidden thing in the SRA survivors. And it's one of the last things that emerges in a DID person system. So to get to the Hitler splice, of where Hitler was spliced, his DNA was spliced in, so that they all carry the DNA of Hitler, and in the royal, specifically in the blue bloods, this splice would be there. I don't know if you've seen The Lost Boys of Brazil, the movie. Wow, that's something to see. It's a fiction story, but I think there's a lot of truth in there.
I mean, because I've heard other stories about Hitler being. I've heard that he was actually going against the whole network, and they demonized him, and that's why he, wanted to remove the so-called Jews from the under his control, because he realized they were actually Satanists, and that's actually why he was trying to kind of get rid of them, and he was trying to do it in a peaceful way. There's a documentary called Battle Europa kind of talks about it, but you think he was legitimately part of that satanic bloodline? Yeah. Look,
I do believe that he was totally under Satan's control, John.
Right.
He did what he did because of Satan.
Right.
He was just performing what he was told.
Okay.
Okay, and then the splicing. If you look at The Lost Boys of Brazil, you'll see that they've taken Hitler's DNA and put it into 8 little boys, and then they get followed by the Mossad to try and trace them, and then each little boy has to be found, and the little boys are 8, and it's 11 or 12, but it's very interesting. I'll give you that detail as well that you can watch. It's really something to see. So these are one of the most hidden secrets, that the blue bloods are actually carrying the DNA of Hitler. Yeah, okay, so the Hitler mindset is to wipe out all the Jews, and the Hitler project was against the whole body of Messiah from the beginning. So from the beginning, he hated the church, he hated religion, he hated anything to do with God and the Bible, and then, of course, the people of God. Okay, so I'm just going to wrap up here with Hollywood and the pop culture in these days.